We'll start as soon as we get permission to share the screen. Someone shared with me last Friday after the shir a fascinating shtickle, a sikha, about Honor B'Choyach. And this is a sikha from Tov Shin Lamed Tes. It was Erev Shavuos. Oh, so there we are. Can you see the screen now, the PowerPoint? Anyone? Okay. Bigger?
That's okay, fine, I can see it.
Good?
That's fine.
All right, so here we have a sikha the Rebbe said on Tov Shin Lamed Tes. It was Erev Shavuos, and, no, again, Nachamon. It was Erev Shavuos, and the Rebbe made a siyum on the Sfiras Omer. And he speaks about the Lam Natsech bin Ginois, how it starts off with Elokim and finishes off with Oretz, the Kus being brought down to the world. The Pasuk Yismuchu starts off with a Yud and finishes off with a Hey, Selah. So you have the idea of the Yud Nivra Olam Habo, the Hey Nivra Olam Hazeh, again, connecting from above to below. And then he goes into the Honor B'Choyach, and he also talks about, and just it's it was the Rebbe's 50th anniversary, Tov Reish Peites to Tov Shin Lamed Tes, and so the Rebbe is celebrating Shnas HaChamishim. And here he makes a siyum on the 49 and going into the Chamishim Yom. So I'll call upon it, it's an easy way to remember which year the sikha is, Tov Shin Lamed Tes. So now I'm reading here from the quote from the sikha, Al derech zeh der Alte Rebbe hat eingestellt, he inserted in the siddur, seien dort die Werte mit the Rosh Tevis von Honor B'Choyach. So we've got, after Sfiras Omer, before the Tefillah of Rebbeinu Shalom, we say the prayer of Honor B'Choyach. Was sei seinen, geneged 49 Werte, tag from the Sfiras Omer. The 49 is corresponding to the 49 days of Sfira. The erste Tag von Sfiras Omer is verbunden, is connected with the word Honor. And the siebte Tag von Sfiras Omer, the 7th day, is connected, verbunden mit dem Rosh Tevis und Abag Yatat. Bis zum letzten Tag von Sfiras Omer, to the last day of Sfiras Omer, was ist verbunden mit dem Rosh Tevis, and the Rebbe said, Shaku Tzadik Yud Tov. In other words, here in the Hanocha, they wrote it in Bekitzer, but the fellow who sent it to me, he actually listened to the recording, and the Rebbe said, Shaku Tzadik Yud Tov. Was B'shas Sfiras Omer darf man trachten oder sagen die Werte. When you count Sfiras Omer, you should either think or mouth the words. Leut wie me fühlt sich in der Reif, according to how we're noyig. Ich hab nicht gehört, king Hero von der Rebbe der Schwer, wie me darf es, wie me fühlt sich in der Reif. So here's an amazing thing. The Rebbe is saying that there's a svara that in Sfiras Omer, you should actually, when you say Honor B'Choyach, you should actually mouth the Rosh Tevis at the end of each line. And anyone who's familiar with the Hayom Yom, so we go down Hayom Yom from Chav Daled Ad Hasheni, Ba'amiras Honor B'Choyach, Tzorich Lirois, Oy Letzayir B'Machshava Hashemes, Shehem HaRosh Tevis, Avaloi Le'amoram. When you say that, when it comes to Honor B'Choyach, you should visualize, either you're looking at them in the siddur or you visualize in your mind the words, the abbreviations at the end of the line. But not to say them. And there's a reason for that. Because the Honor B'Choyach is, well, let's go back for a moment. Honor B'Choyach is attributed to the Tana called Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakoneh. He's the author of the Sefer HaKoneh, also the Sefer HaBohir. These are two Kabbalah Sforim, which we do have. And this tefillah is attributed. Certainly in the Shalom mentions it's called Tefillah Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakoneh. That's why it's known as. So it's the purpose of this tefillah is to have a list of 42 letters, and they correspond to Hashem's name called Shem Mab, the name of 42 letters, and it's generally associated with elevating. So Lemoshel, you say it at the end of Karbonos before Ezum Mekoimon to elevate our tefillas. We say it by Shema at night, before we go to bed, before we go to sleep, to elevate, because our neshama should go up together with all our good deeds, which we did during the day. And then we also say, on a Bechoyach, this evening we'll say it before the Chodoidi, so where you have the 6 days of the week are being elevated. So Shem Mem Beis is generally associated with elevating. And here it says in Hayom Yom, in Chav Daled Ad Hasheni, that when you say the on the Bechoyach, you shouldn't mouth the Rosh Tevis. You should just visualize them. Now here, I've got two, here in this, where I'm pointing with the cursor now, another quote from Hayom Yom, that on a Bechoyach of Kabbalas Shabbos should be said silently. It should be in undertone, belachash. So in some places they like to sing on a Bechoyach, but by Friday night it says that in Hayom Yom by us we have that this on a Bechoyach should be said quietly. Now about 8 years ago, someone made a chasna and published. People sometimes publish these shuras, which have got these fascinating bits and pieces. And here's a note of the Rebbe, which I'm pointing to now with the cursor. She'elos she'adayin lo yonisi. Couple of questions. The full name is Meir Shalayim. He had 2 questions from Yerushalayim which he didn't answer. And the second one is Behayom Yom of Beis Sivan. It says Ona Bechoyach of Kabbalas Shabbos is Belachash. And V'yesh Lefarish. The reason is Al Pi Avodah Zorah Daf Yud Ches uBePirish Rashi Shom Daf Yud Zayin. That the reason for not mouthing the words of not saying on a Bechoyach aloud is because in Gemara Avodah Zorah over there it talks about Hoige Hashem Ba'os Yosef, one who's uttering Hashem's name, and it's inappropriate to utter Hashem's name. And it looks like the saying it quietly, and Rashi there comments, it refers to the Shem Mem Beis. And so it looks like the saying the Ona Bechech quietly is somehow a suppression of mouthing Hashem's name with these letters. And this the Rebbe asked, V'im Kain, just a second, V'im Kain, Tzorech Lahovin, Tzorech Liyos, I'm missing a word here. B'chol pam she'oimrim on the Bechoyach. If that's the case, then it should be every time you say on the Bechoyach. Why after Friday night is there the apprehension and to say it quietly and not any other time? So that remains, the Rebbe left it as a question, didn't answer the question. But coming back to which I found amazing, this quote from the Sikha where the Rebbe is saying, Ich hab nit geherken hero from dem Rebbe dem Schwer, whether to mouth the words or just to say b'machshava the Rosh Tevis on the Bechoyach. So I was thrown by this. But Behisboinen Nuskalo, I read a few years ago. This reminded me a fascinating article as in Geman in Eretz Yisrael by the name of Menachem Mendel Reitzes. His father is the Shliach in Yesod HaMa'ala. He's a young man. He's published quite a few. There's a few svarim of his called Hinei Yomim Boim. Very, very, very impressive. I'll call upon him. He wrote an article about the Shem on the Bechoyach Shem Mab. Usually, when it's mentioned in Chassidus, they say the examples of Krishim Shalamita, the example of Friday evening, Kabbalas Shabbos, and Bekarbanis. Sfira Sa'ima doesn't usually come as a mention. And the reason is very simple. Because by Sfira Sa'ima, we're not interested in the union of Mem Beis. In Sfira Sa'ima, you're interested in Mem Tes. You're not interested in 42. You're interested in 49. So it's a different thing. It's true that taking these 42 words, and they've got in 7 lines, so the 7 abbreviations will make up to 49. But the purpose of Ona Bechoyach during Sfira is different. It may not be totally different, but it's different to the reason we're saying Ona Bechoyach at other times. Therefore, the Heira, which is written Hayom Yom Chavdal Ad Hasheni, to not utter the words of the Rosh Teva is not binding for Sfiras Omer, because there is a svara to say Dafka you should say them, because otherwise you don't have the cheshbon of 49. From deswegen, then the other side of it is because of the zehirus we just saw the Gemara in Avodah Zarah about Hoigus Hashem Beis Yosef. Therefore, there's a svara to say Dafka, not to say it with your mouth, just b'machshove. That's what the Rebbe says. Oder trachten die Werte, oder sagen die Werte. If you are going to be sagen die Werte, if you're going to be saying those words, then you're going to have to know how to avoid getting into trouble with uttering the shemus. What I did take from this, though, and let's relieve Lemaisa. As you're saying on the Bechoyach, or during Sfira, one should stop for a moment at the end of each line, at least to look at the words, to think at the Rosh Tevis before going further. And in this way, you're going to have your number of 49. So the whole thing was a tremendous chiddush to me. I thought the Olam would enjoy to see this.
So, they're asking, can I make a little ha'ara?
Go on.
I noticed that when the Rebbe, on a video, you see the Rebbe saying Sfiras Omer, so even though it was at the beginning, and
he would say something before, yes.
And the Rebbe always, he goes back the page and he looks at the letter.
Yeah. Yeah, basically.
It's not about knowing which letter to think about. The Rebbe made a point of actually looking.
Yeah, I don't know how that line got into this slide.
Just another thing about the Honor B'Koyach. You mentioned that we're drawing down, like the Rebbe is speaking about it coming down, milamayla lamata, in the Honor B'Koyach. Maybe one of your children has got hold, someone's child?
No, it's probably somewhere I've got some drawing tool on, and it's drawing pictures. Okay, let's go on.
Yeah, you spoke about drawing down in the Sfiras Omer Honor B'Koyach, whereas normally the Honor B'Koyach is going up.
Yes.
So could that also relate to?
Yes, and in Reitz's article, he quotes I can share it with you later, he quotes a Tzemach Tzedek where it looks like this was the question put to the Tzemach Tzedek. Oh, no, it's in Igris Kodesh of the Rebbe, and he refers to Tzemach Tzedek where he mentions that Sfiras Omer is Kshayches the union of Tenufa. Tenufa is to elevate. So whilst Mitzad Echad, Sfiras Omer, we're talking about the 49, but it's still connected with the union of Tenufa of elevating. Therefore, the indigenous purpose of Shem Mab of elevation is appropriate to Sfiras Omer also. But the viola, there needs to be also sensitivity to the cheshbon of 49. All right, let's go on to another inyan. The Sikha comes out every week, and those who want to pick up a copy, I got a message that the Shalom Ber Sudak prints them off, and they are available in the foyer. When you come into Beis Lubavitch, if you venture out, so they are printed out. You have every week the Sikha which comes out. So I went through this earlier in the week. So in the Sikha is talking about the inyan of Merkava, the bittul of Merkava. It's got to do with the inyan of Talucha, of bittul. The Rebbe talks about what's the pshat. It comes Shavuos, Mele Pesach. You have the inyan of Halicha. It's a whole thing of walking. Why is there an emphasis on Shavuos about walking? The kids he mentions the inyan of Merkava. Let's get back to the screen. There we are. Umizeh muven shelekol echad mi Yisrael shayochim gam prote inyonim shebemerkavas Yecheskel. That the inyonim which are discussed in the Merkava are relevant to every yid. Shenemorim behaftoras.
We haven't got the screen.
Okay. So I'm going to close it. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to go back and share it again. Back? Yeah? Do you have the screen now?
Yeah, now it's there. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
So now, Zog the Rebbe. So the inyonim which are discussed in the Haftarah are relevant to every Yid. Shenemorim behaftoras chag Shavuos Sheshayeches l'chol elu sheshoymim oisa. The inyonim which are discussed in the Haftarah are relevant to everyone who hears the Haftarah. That the Haftarah of Yecheskel, the higher Merkava, the Merkava of Yecheskel, which is the Haftarah on Shavuos, is also incorporated in Tikul Shavuos. Shenemar she'oimer kol echad miYisrael v'yeina yotzei yedei chivose b'amiras hazulas. It comes to the Tikul Shavuos. You have to say it yourself. Now, my impression here was that the Rebbe is saying that Haftarah you yotzei by listening. And Tikkun Shavuos, you have to say yourself. Now that's they didn't give any reference to this, and as I know that we are noyig, that we say the Haftarah along with the one who reads the Haftarah. Now, for those are in these street minyanim, back garden porch minyanim, whatever. So the Polish Olam Bichlal, there's no loud Haftarah, maftir. The maftir says the brachas, then everyone does their own thing. And you don't hear someone saying it loud. Whereas I believe in Nusach Ashkenaz shuls and United, etc., probably also the proper Yaakov shuls is a seder of one person singing aloud with a trop, and everyone either listens or says quietly. All right. So here the Rebbe is saying that,
meaning we have it aloud.
Okay. So that's
Tiferes Amram, we have it. They say it aloud.
Okay. Lo yas. Now here, I'm going now. The next quote is a quote from Sefer HaMinhagim. So the Sefer HaMinhagim here is literally a word-for-word quote from the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. So I'm going to read through it. It's a Shikol Shulchan Aruch, but it's in Sefer HaMinhagim. Lo yaschil ha'maftir lahaftir at sheyigmer hagoyla ligla la-sefer Torah. The one who's doing the Haftarah should not launch into the Haftarah until the one who's rapping the Sefer Torah should finish rapping. Kadesh Gam ha goylul, because the rapper, the one who does glil is called the rapper. So, I'm all Ergiben rappers. So the one who does the Haftarah, the rapper, yochal lohavim v'lishmoya mimenu, because the rapper also has to listen to the Haftarah. Shechoivahi al hakoil lishmoya Haftarah kamoya parsha shebesefer Torah. Just like everyone has to hear to Kriyas HaTorah, they have to also listen to Haftarah. Lefichach lo yikru shnayim Haftarah ke'echod bekoil. You shouldn't have several people, 2 or more people, saying the Haftarah aloud. Sheshnei koilos ein nishmoy, because you can't hear 2 voices. That this is how you have the minhag of one person saying the Haftarah aloud and everyone listens. There are those, this code, usually means it's Api Harizal, Api Kabbalah. So those who have the minhag not to just listen to the Haftarah, Eloheim be'atzmon koirim Haftarah v'shoymim ha'brochen b'hamaftir. They say the Haftarah, and the brachas they hear from the maftir. They should say the Haftarah quietly, and the leader should say it aloud, and they should say it quietly, mila b'mila imam maftir, word for word with the one who's reading it with the maftir. Sometimes I must admit, I have to confess, I don't always. If the one who's reading the Haftarah is very slow, and I've got something, I must read something right then, so I say it sometimes a little bit faster. It's in brackets. At any rate, so here we have the 2 minhagim, whether the Haftarah is read aloud, and whether it's or whether just the reader says the Haftarah, or everyone says the Haftarah. Then this is a quote, mamish word for word from the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. But then we've got here a footnote in the Sefer HaMinhagim. Loi yaschil hamaftir. Shulchan Aruch Admur HaZoken, Simeresh Pei Daled, Sif Yud Aleph. V'hoiroas kveiklushas Admur Shlite, b'shem the Frierdiker Rebbe shekach minhageinu. So, what is exactly the hoiro of the Rebbe added to that which is written in Shulchan Aruch? What was left unclear in the Shulchan Aruch, which was confirmed as a hero of the Frierdiker Rebbe? So you got here, the first thing is the practical stuff. Don't start maftir until he's finished rapping. Then we've got a discussion about saying it quietly or not saying it quietly. So when we say that there's a Hairah of the Rebbe, of the Frierdiker Rebbe, in reference to which detail is it referring to? So in Sefer HaMinhagim, it's not clear, yes? And that's really relevant to our the opening discussion here with the Sikha from Tafshin Lamed Tes. No, not Lamed Tes, no. From Tafshin Lamed Gimel, where he talks about listening to the maftir. So here, if you can read, I'll make it a little bit bigger. So the top quote is a quote from the Hashulchan. That's Reb Chaim Noah, and he published a kind of Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, which stretches over 9 volumes, but it's based upon the Alter Rebbe's Shulchan Aruch. He's got his own simonim, and in subsequent volumes he added, hashmotas which were missed out, added comments. So this is a comment added to Simon Pei, which talks about Kriyas HaTorah and Maftir. So he writes here, Bebadei HaShulchan, which is his commentaries, his footnotes in his Kusas HaShulchan. I quoted from the Tzemach that the Tzemach Tzedek would be Oile LeMaftir B'Chol Shabbos. The Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek, would have Maftir every Shabbos. Ra'isi B'Shutz Sam Sofer, that his Rebbe, Reb Nosson Adler, also was Oile LeMaftir B'Chol Shabbos. Vehinhig Shehat Tzibur Lo Yoimru HaHavtorah. So although we've seen there's a svara that everyone says they have Torah, Reb Nosson Adler, who was the Talmud of the Mizritche Magid, and he was the Rebbe of Sam Sofer, he would say they have Torah aloud, and he guided his community that they should not say they have Torah. Just listen. V'cheina minig eitzel anash keshehem eitzel admur. Einem koirim ba'av Torah rak oim dem makshivim. So when Chassidim are by the Rebbe, then the Rebbe says the maftir and everyone's quiet. So that explains the Sichim from Tafshin Lamed Gimel. In the regular shuls, everywhere else, so the maftir says aloud, that's our minig, and the olam says it quietly together with him, like the second thing in the Shulchan Aruch, which says, by the Rebbe is talking about in 770. But the Rebbe would say the maftir, and everyone's just yoitze. Then the Rebbe says, but come to Gesdel Shvuz, you're going to say it yourself. That's how I've reconciled the pshat over here. Now, then, I'm still to confirm what's the pshat of that order that the Frierdiker Rebbe was masking, in reference to what. So here, this is from a kovetz which has the handwriting draft of, I think it's Rabbi Groner, Olav Shalom, when he's putting together the Sefer HaMinhagim. So he has that quote, which you saw just.
It's Rabbi Greenglass's writing.
Oh, okay, I sit corrected. Okay. So then it's Rabbi Greenglass who worked together with Rabbi Groner to put together the Sefer HaMinhagim. And he has this Hayroas Kvot Kushas Admur, B'Shem Hoyt Kushas, or the Rebbe, means name of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and then the Rebbe adds something. Nimso, sorry, Eitzel Horash Yichye Hecht.
Michtov.
Moir V'chomi Alza. And that's been spelled out by the publisher, that there's a letter written of the Frierdiker Rebbe. That's why it's a hero of the Frierdiker Rebbe. That there's a letter to the Frierdiker Rebbe to Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Hecht, I presume, who was the Shliach in Chicago, and he talks about this. Then he writes, the editor of this publication, this Sha'arei Menachem, so this mysterious letter, and we still don't know what is the hero. Is it talking the hero about Galila, or is the hero about saying them after quietly? So then here's another. Now this is from a sefer called Me'otzar HaMelech. I didn't copy the whole Ksav Yad. It's the whole sefer Me'otzar HaMelech is facsimiles of the Rebbe's notes, and they've spelt it out. So here I don't know whether this quote now is published anywhere else, so I'm going to read it for you. The Masha Shoaluhu al Dvar Minogenu Lechakois Bahaschola Samiras Maftir ad Gemar Haglila. Our minig is, and you asked about it, our minig is to wait, don't start Haftorah, although everybody's impatient to go for the cholent, but you wait until the Galila has finished wrapping, and only then you start the Haftorah. Who al pipsak din admur hazokim b'shulchan aruch v'zimeresh pedalet al miyused al pipsak hashulchan aruch v'hamechaber shom. This of waiting for the goylul to finish, for the rapper to finish before the starting Haftorah is a psak of Alter Rebbe based upon the mechaber. V'avsha shari Ephraim shar tes or shar yud chaf hey kosav sha'olim mikilim. The classic sefer on Kriyas HaTorah is the sefer Shari Ephraim, for things of Ephraim's Alma Magolis. And he, in two places, he says that the Olam are makel, that they start the Haftorah whilst the rapper is still in the middle of wrapping. V'chein mashma, he's got another sefer, a very popular sefer, which is focusing on the dinim of Tishri. It's called Mate Ephraim in Sim Tov Kuf Peidalet. Sifchov is also mashma that it's okay to start. He acquiesces to the minhag ha'olam to start their maftir even before the goyel has finished wrapping. That was the question perhaps put to the Rebbe. I mean, the Welt is not waiting till the goyel is finished to do this start the Haftorah. Why are we waiting? This svara, which the Mate Ephraim, Shari Ephraim, writes, is not quoted in the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, that you can start Haftorah before the wrapping is done. And not only is the even these later Weltische works don't bring this. The Shari Ephraim, the main body is the Shari Ephraim, and then the Pischei She'orim is his sources, where he gets each thing in little discussion. So in the Pischei She'orim, in the second quote of the Shari Ephraim, he says, Tama Mikilim. Why are the people makel to start the Haftorah while the rapper hasn't finished rapping? That's the Polish minig, not Bertiferes Amram. But the Weltische Polish minig is that everyone is saying the Haftorah doing their own thing. And therefore, what's the point of waiting? Because Mr. Rapper is going to take a chumash, he's going to say Haftorah on his own. He's not going to hear it from the fellow who's saying out. He's not saying out loud. If that's the case, Hare, according to our minig, that we don't have everyone murmuring it quietly, when the minig is adhered to, as written in the Mechaber and Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch, to say the Haftorah aloud, then you have to wait that the one who's doing the Galila should be finished the Galila, and then he should also be able to follow. He's also Jewish like anyone else. So what we have from all this, I believe, although I can't, it means that the Hayroah of the Frierdiker Rebbe, which is quoted over here, and here the Rebbe himself goes into detail, is referring to this issue, whether we wait for the maftir or we wait, whether we wait for the goylul or we don't wait. And the Hayroah is that we do wait. I tried to last night at 1 o'clock in the morning. I tried to trace an einikel of Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Hecht to see whether anyone has his archive, but I can't report success in that one. Rabbi Lu, you wanted to say something?
I just want to say I saw a number of times the Rebbe was medactic not to start to take the till the kesser was on properly.
So just to repeat for the recording,
the kesser was comfortable
the Rebbe was particular not only to wait till the Galila is wrapped around, the sash is wrapped around, but the mantle put on. But even the Rebbe would wait until the kesser, the crown,
and the kesser is comfortable till the kesser was comfortable. Properly.
Very good, shkoyach. Okay, here's a question which I got from Ukraine. So they're doing a Chalabek event over Zoom, via Zoom. No, they had a svara that they're going to send around ingredients to everyone. But then he has I'm spoiled from the Shaila. A lot of his people are leider not yet keeping kosher. So they're going to make a Zoom, and everyone is going to make it their house. They're going to make chalas, and they're going to be not kosher because they're baked in a non-kosher oven. So is it a good idea to be making this Zoom challah bake? And then this was in one town in Ukraine. They shared my answer. So then another shlucha or another shliach from another part of Ukraine called, and they're not delivering the ingredients to their people, and they're just giving them a list of ingredients, and we're going to do a cheesecake together. They're going to get cheesecake they're going to get cheese, farmer's cheese, whatever, from whatever's available in the local supermarket, which is not going to be Chol of Yisrael. So the question which they're asking is it a correct thing to do or not? So I just like such beautiful shilas. So what I said is, you're teaching them how to make challah. You'll tell them the Yiddish way to make challah is you first put the oven on full for half an hour. So in effect, you've kind of kashered the oven before they start baking. Now, I'm a little bit worried because it might be that the oven will be too hot and burn the challah. But that will Ezras Noshim will have to deal with. Perhaps you have to switch it off and then allow it to cool down a little bit before you put the challah in. I don't know about that. As I've said before, I don't have public liability insurance for paskening. But all right, but that's what I felt. And certainly when it comes to the cheesecake, that they should tell them that, and this is part of the chinuch. Of course, it's not going to be like Lamahadrin, but if they're not keeping kosher, I think we're on the up and up with them, and we just work along with people where they are and try to elevate them. So this is definitely a positive thing. What you can do, as I say, to reduce, to mitigate the non-kosher aspect, of course, to say that there's no, they shouldn't have anything else in the oven at the same time, but also to tell them to turn it on before. The shliach actually was a little bit apprehensive whether people would take this advice, because they're very, very frugal over there. A lot of people are very, very poor, and to tell them to put on the oven, an empty oven for half an hour, might be something which they won't buy. No, what's coming on? We're meant to do what we can, and they shall help in mashlim zayin dominion. Okay, I want to go on to another shaila which came up. Someone now a lot of people are in lockdown, so a lot of people have more time to do their gardening. And okay, so someone bought a cucumber plant, and then you look on the package, it says it's grafted. So then the shaila, are you allowed to plant a grafted thing? So let me explain something. There's a din of kilayim, which means we have two dinim of kilayim. You've got kilei hakerem and kilei zroim. Both of them are osur min haTorah in Eretz Yisrael. Kilei hakerem is much more chomor, much stricter. And if you would plant next to a vine, if you would plant some seeds of barley or wheat, so then it would make everything osur. The wheat would become osur, and the vine would become osur. And this is learned. It says a lot in the pasuk, tukdash hamlei azora shetizav osvuas hakorem. So the word tukdash, which means consecrated, Chazal learned tukad esh. It will have to be burnt in fire. So kilei hakerem are osur b'hanoah. By contrast, kilei zroim is not osur b'hanoah, as far as I remember. At any rate, in chutz la'oretz kilei zroim is mutter. Having said that, there's another aspect in kilayim which is called harkova. The word harkova is from the shorish of roichev, and that is where you graft. You take a stump. Let's say you take one tree, you cut off the top of the tree, and you take the top of one tree and you put it into the bough or whatever, into the stump. You make a cavity, and you park one into the other. Actually, I was doing a little research last night on this, and I saw some what's it called, YouTube. Someone showing how he did grafting of tomatoes, different types of tomatoes, and you can see how he's connecting. You cut them by a diagonal, a special kind of tool, which a special kind of plastic thing to hold it together. Sometimes it does work, sometimes it doesn't work. This is a din of harkova. And harkova, to ilon beyerek, yerek beilon, mefurish mishnah in kilayim, that you're not allowed to graft a tree with another tree. And that also applies to chutz la'aretz. And also to take lamoshel, the mishnah talks about, let's say you've got a vine, and the vine needs to have a lot of water. Next to it, you've got a watermelon, avatiach. So to take a creeper of the vine and to put it into the watermelon. So then the vine will drink the water out of the watermelon. The Mishnah says you're not allowed to do it. That's called harkovas ilon beyerek, which is not allowed. What I found, though, in this context, harkovas yerek beyerek. So I spent some time whether there's any clear issue of harkovas yerek beyerek, and it seems to be that it's osur also. But I went back to this cucumber plant. My impression is it's not even combining cucumbers with another plant. It's two species of cucumber. One is more tasty, and the one of them is more hardy. So they combine the two, but it's cucumber with cucumber. So therefore, I don't think there's a problem of harkova there altogether. Therefore, I felt it was okay. But I wanted to discuss this. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's now a common problem. People go to a garden center and they buy an apple tree, they buy a cherry tree. Usually, it's going to have stock. It's going to be a trunk, thin trunk, and it's going to be, you can see the bottom is a stump from a different species. The marshal, they'll take a quince. They'll take the stump of a quince and put the apple in it. They'll marry them together back in the nursery. And then you're buying, and if you plant that, you're actually planting your oivanissa deraisa, I believe, of planting kilayim. And it goes further. Here I've quoted the din from Shulchan Aruch. So I'm saying it's such a common thing, and people are unaware, Pashat. Osu lekayim hamurkev kilayim. You're not, if you have a kilayim tree, you're not allowed to keep it. You're going to have to undo it. You have to uproot it. The fruit which it produces, you're allowed to have the fruit. That we know. That the fruit of kilayim you're allowed to have. You can take a branch from this combined tree, you can plant it somewhere else. But if you have, and I've seen this in been to someone's house, in the front of the house, they've got like a cherry tree. And I can see at the bottom of the tree that it's wider. You can see that it's irregular. You can see that there's been a combination there. It looks like they bought the tree from, I don't know, it could be 30 years ago. It was bought from a nursery where it was a murkev. And according to what we're learning over here, you're not allowed to keep that tree. You're going to have to uproot it.
Even if a goy did it?
It doesn't matter. Also the kayim.
So what, you can plant a twig from it?
Yes. But the actual mamzeris, it's a situation itself, you're not allowed to maintain.
But what's the difference? You mean because...
All right, so you have here the reference is in Shulchan Aruch. I didn't give you the reference. I'll give you the reference later, and we'll have to do some homework.
We're relying on this all the time. There are many mixed fruits, nectarines.
So you're allowed to have the fruit, klor. The priya yotzim mimenu is mutter. The issue is if you have such a tree, you're not allowed to keep that tree in your garden. You're gonna have in the Shulchan Aruch, just a second, the Chassam Sofer has in the Shulchan Aruch, I think it's Shin Lamed Hey. Whatever, it's in the Shulchan Aruch where it has the dinim of harkova. So in the Piskei Tshuva, he brings from the Chassam Sofer Tshuva from Eretz Hagor, which I believe is Hungary, and it looks like someone had bought an orchard, and it was a common thing that these orchards were full of harkova. And the Chassam Sofer, he says he finds some limud chus that they can leave it, but certainly. But the pashtus of the din of the Shulchan Aruch is, if you've got such a tree, you have a chiyuv to uproot it.
How does this tie in with the horrendous consequences of uprooting a fruit tree?
Yeah, that's when it's a mitzvah. Here's an aveda. Yeah. Right, let's go on. Here's Mamash Azum Shaila. Hataras Nedarim. Normally, Hataras Nedarim can be done by Yochid Mumche, but normally we try to get 3 people, and they can be Hedyotis also. As some say it's because one of them probably is learned. Lav Dafke, sometimes you can make a neder with a Sefer Torah as alles nicht. Whatever. Yeah, and then you have to have Hataras Nedarim on that. So now, can you make Hataras Nedarim with three males, three, bari mitzvah, but in three different places by Zoom. You won't find this in Sforim written more than 10 years ago, yeah? So the answer is no, you can't do it. And the inyan of having three is not only by Hatoras Nedorim, you have also by Hatoras Bechairis. If you have a Bechair, and a Bechair developed a mum, so in order to be able to use it, so then you're going to have to, if it develops a mum, it develops a blemish, then you can confirm that it's disqualified to be used as a korban, and then you can use it for mundane use. Yeah? If you don't have a mumche, it says in the Gemara, in Gemara Chulin, I believe, that Rav spent 18 months together with a shepherd to learn what is called a mum, what's a blemish which is a lasting one and what is only a temporary one. So you need to have expertise, and if you don't have expertise, so you can be matam shloisha hedyotis. So you need to have three hedyotis. So you got this animal, it's a bechair, it's developed a mum. Could you take this bechair to one farmer, another farmer, three Yiddish farmers, and each one will say it's a mum, how you say, mum kavua, and mutalach. Is that okay? So here's a tshuva in Marsham. He's talking, as I'm saying, he's not talking about Zoom for Hataras Nedorim. He's talking about getting three farmers in different places to do Hataras Bechair. And he says, no, when the Torah says they have to have three, they have to have three together. And he then extends also Hataras Nedorim. The same Marasham. Marasham was the great Poiskim in Galicia about 150 years ago, whatever. So he says the same thing about Hataras Nedorim. And actually, Gemara talks about whether whether you can appoint a shliach to be matir neder. In other words, can I ask someone else to delegate me? So normally, it says like this: a husband, if there are three dayonim mukubotzim, if there are three people, there's already a convened bezdin, so then the husband can present to them his wife's neder and ask them for hator. But there you see already there has to be mukubotzim; they have to be together, and therefore that raises a question. Now I'll tell you the upside of this is that for hataras nedorim, it came up this past week. Someone asked me. For Hataras Nedorim, it does not need to be, you know what it was? Someone said it was something to do with Corona, someone needed to have Hataras Nedorim. I said, you can do Hataras Nedorim with family. They can be, a husband for his wife can't be one of the Dayonim, but you can have a father and a son and two sons, they can be Kroivim. So therefore, to get three people by Zoom to make Hataras Nedorim, you can't. But it's not such a difficult thing. I've written once that over the phone you can do Hataras Nedorim. In other words, the petitioner for Hataras Nedorim can present his plea over the phone, and if you get a house where there's three bari mitzvah, so you can call them Zoom or over the phone, whatever, and they can be matir neder, but they have to be three people together, and if they're craven, it doesn't matter. So practically, it's yeah. Go on.
When you say you need three people, can't one chacham do it?
Yeah, so we have to find the chacham. Can you? Okay, let's move on. Yeah. Right. Someone asked me the following, during this week. When we say Shema, so we always make a point of connecting Hashem Elokeichem to the word emes. And this is based upon the pasuk, Hashem Elokim emes u'Elokim chayim. No, so he asks, Mele, when you have in Ma'ariv, Hashem Elokeichem emes, it starts emes ve'emunah. In Shachris, Hashem Elokeichem emes ve'yatzib. Makes sense. But why when you're saying Krish B'Shalamito? And why are you saying, when you're saying in Rabbeinu Tam's, why do you have to add the word emes? So I told him the following. Well, what happened over here? In the Pshat, you can say it like this. Chachomim, then when they, compiled the Nusach HaBroches, b'mikre, the brocha after Shema is emes v'yatziv. And b'mikre, the one after by night, is emes v'emunah. We have already such a emes b'mikre after the word Hashem Elokeichem. Let's put it together, Hashem emes. You can say that way. Or you could say no. When the Chachomim compiled those brochas, they knew that it's going to come after the word Hashem Elokeichem. And they said, we're going to start these brochas with the word emes, so that we should be able to have the inyan of Hashem Elokim emes u'Elokim chayim. It's not just a reaction. That was part of the design of those brachas. And therefore, when you're saying Shema, even without a bracha following, there is a mile of dafke. The joke was, when did Moshe not say emes? by Yom Hashem al Moshe, by Tzitzis, Moshe had not gesagt the emes, yeah? But we have to make up for it. We have to say emes. So whenever we say Shema, we say the third parsha, so we add the word emes, even if it's not next to a bracha of Birchas Krishma. All right, I'm going to try to get through our list. We don't have much time. Here, a group of girls are producing a play and about Mashiach, how everyone's going to become well. And so they asked the Shaila, they want to have a girl sitting in a wheelchair and looking as if she's an invalid. And then, mitamol, Mashiach comes and she jumps out of the wheelchair. So then they're asking, is it okay to act as if you're an invalid? So let's go to the next slide. We have here Mishnah in the end of Peah. It says a person who's not needy and he pretends to be needy and takes tzedakah, so he's ein nifter min ha'olam, he won't pass away from the world until he becomes needy. Then it says here further, someone who's neither lame nor blind, so we have here a Mishnah which says if we pretend to be an invalid, so Rahman Litzlan, it's actually, I think Rabbi Vogel would say, to anticipate it, to precipitate. So by saying such a thing as if you are precipitating that there should be chas v'sholom such a thing. But so I looked into it. My impression was that here it's clearly when they are using the pretense of being an invalid in order to deceive people, to invoke more compassion, they should be given a greater donation. But in the context which we described now, the playing a play, that is not the purpose at all. So I felt it was safe that they are allowed to make that play, and it's on the chatten to see the Geula Shleim with Moshiach. Okay, now here's a shaila I got from a shliach in Eretz Yisrael. So they have an incentive for the kids to come for Aseres Adibris. He says, see, I'm in the south of Eretz Yisrael, and he says they have about 1,000 kids. It's built up. And I asked him, how are you managing this year? They've worked out. They're going to make outdoor events with distancing and all Sachen, and they give every kid a gift. So he got this, to give 1,000 kids a gift, it has to be a bit of a cheapie. So he got 1,000 units of this gift, as you see. It's a skateboard about the size of, a Matchbox car. And, very nice. But then he noticed that in the skateboard, in the bubble pack, you can also see a screwdriver. No, a screwdriver is muksa. So is he allowed to give out these packets with a muksa item in the packet? So I told him that's not a problem because it's, the idea of bosses of Dover also mutter. If it's coming together, you would be allowed to carry the packet. But then I asked him, hang on a second, what's the heter to give out these things on Yom Tov? You're doing the kids are being koine. Are you allowed to, there's a whole thing about, when the bar mitzvah boy gets bar mitzvah and they want to present him a becher. So you give the becher to this, the rabbi gives it to the secretary to be koine. We're familiar with that, yeah? So how do you give out these things? How do you avoid the shaila of kinyan? So I'm going to read this in Shulchan Aruch, and he got back to me. Another Rav gave him an explanation why it's okay, since the children are going to enjoy the toy on Yom Tov, so that's okay. Even though they're not going to eat the skateboard, but they're just going to enjoy it. It's okay. And I didn't go into the discussion about how they're going to open the wrapper. We'll leave that. But meanwhile, we have here. It's a dinner. You can see the source is Siman Shin Zayin. Those who have accustomed to present a chosen who gives a good drosha geshank, and they give him on Shabbos. You're not allowed to give a gift on Shabbos nor Yom Tov. You can give food. So you can give out rogalach, you can give out wafers, ice cream, but to give out a gift which is not a food gift is not okay. And he gives a reference to so actually Rabbi Levin in his notes to this Siman and Shin Zayin, he points out that actually, you look in Siman Shin Chav Gimel, so here it's talking about Tevilas Kalim. And you're not allowed to tovel Kalim on Shabbos, because it's saying, Tikkun. And the Eitzah, what do you do when you're stuck without a mikveh, which is also a corona issue? If you are stuck in a situation, you have a new keli, you can't tovel it in a mikveh, give it to a goy as a gift. It then belongs to the goy, and you borrow it from him, and therefore it's exempt from tefillah. So here we see, even though it's not a food, but if the gift is l'tzorech haShabbos, then you are allowed to. On this basis, this other Rav in Eretz Yisrael said that he's allowed to give out these skateboards on Yom Tov, because for the children it's a tzorech that they're going to enjoy them on Yom Tov. We've almost finished our list. Yeah. Gut, auf dem wollte Ice Cream euch getäugt. Aber Farish, ich habe die nicht gesehen, aber Baruch Hashem, mir startet, Baruch Hashem. Now, this Shabbos...
Is this for assembling? Are they allowed to assemble it on Yom Tov?
No. Thank you.
That's why it's got a screwdriver.
So I thank you for the ha'ara. I did write to this shliach in Eretz Yisrael that it's kedai to be mitzaref a petek, to add a note, shelo harkiv v'lo lefarek. If you notice, this skateboard comes with orange wheels and yellow wheels, and that part of the mistama, the excitement. How much can you have excitement from a Matchbox toy? But you can take the wheels off and put the other wheels on. Shelo lefarek v'lo leharkiv, not to dismantle, not to what's the opposite of dismantle? To mantle?
Put together.
Remantle? Not to put it together again. On Shabbos or Yom Tov. Okay, then we have this Shabbos, Shabbos Mevorchim, and normally on Shabbos Mevorchim we do not say Ovarachamim, because Yom Tov Mevorchim Sashtikol Simcha, so we don't say Ovarachamim. There's one exception in our Nusach. In other Nuschos they have 2 or 3 Roshei Shabbos Mevorchim where they do say Ovarachamim. Some say in Rosh Chodesh Mevorchim of. And the Alter Rebbe, you have the top quote is from the Alter Rebbe Shchonoruch, Rosh Chodesh Iyar, Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and the reason for this is because the Ovarachimim was composed in memory of the Kehillas, which were decimated by the Crusades, and then again it happened a similar time was with the Khmelnytsky Yimach Shemoy. It looks like what they call the spring. So there was recently we heard about the Arab Spring. We had a European spring also a few times in this, this Yabeshes Shel Chesed. At any rate, so because the pogroms took place during this time, therefore there's more reason to say the Ovarachimim Dafkin during this time. You can look in the also in the Kinnis for Tisha B'Av, it tells us about the communities of Aspeir, and Worms, and Magensa, which is mines, and tells us exactly which date they were destroyed. And so that's why we say the Obarachim at this time. But here, the question is, if for some reason your minion will reach after Kriyas HaTorah to Birchas HaChodesh, and it's ready after Chatzos, and it's Erev Yom, it's Erev Rosh Chodesh afternoon, we don't say Tachnun, do you say Ovarachim or do you not say Ovarachim? So the question could also be, what would happen if it wouldn't be, if it would be early in the day, what would happen if there's a bris tomorrow? Would you say Ovarachimim because there's a moil and the sandik and the aviyah ben? Do you skip Ovarachimim in the presence of a? So what's happened here is Shabbos Mevorchim, don't say Ovarachimim. Shabbos Mevorchim 7, do say Ovarachimim. Why? Because it's to commemorate the Kehillas which were destroyed. So what happens if there's, in addition to Shabbos Mevorchim, there's another Simcha comes in? So the bris, does it doiche the Ovarachim, or do you say no? This is when it was instituted, it remains where it is. So this is a not very clear. But now let's read this is the second quote, as you see from the Alter Rebbe Siddur. Ovarachimim oimrim b'chol Shabbos. There's 3 points here. Wouldn't it have been more logical to say, you say Ovarachimim every Shabbos. not when you're Mevorchim HaChodesh, except for Rosh Chodesh Sivan when you do. And then any other event, when there's no Tachanun, you don't say it. The impression you can kind of infer from this is that he's saying like this: Shabbos and Mevorchim, you don't say it. When there's no Tachanun, you don't say it. When Rosh Chodesh Sivan, even if it's a day you don't say Tachanun for whatever reason, you still say it. And on that basis, even if there's a bris, because it's Shabbos and Mevorchim Sivan, it's so important to say the Yahweh Rachim on this date, therefore it remains regardless. If someone wants to follow the whole discussion, it's only negaya if you're going to overspill to after Chatzos. But there's two ways of learning this, and I've come to the end of my list of 9 points. I've got 2 more points which I want to say. Number one, someone asked me about the shear of Tisha Kavin. Someone asked on the telephone earlier this morning. If he's on the phone, he can hear. The shear of Tisha Kavin is 12 liters and 12.442. Another 12.5 liters. I'm not sure whether it's 1 bucket or 2 buckets, but approximately that amount of water. If someone wants to do, I've said it before, if you want to do it in a shower, 1.5 minutes in our showers is already going to have the shear. If you want to do it on a Shabbos morning, which obviously you can't use the shower because of hot water, then you can use buckets. You can take hot water from your urn and kind of take away the chill from that cold water. So it's 12.5 liters approximately. I want to remind you for Erev Tafshilin, and the end of this meeting, we have to discuss when is the next meeting. So my question to you is, should we have the Erev Shavuos next Thursday? Should we follow the same slot? And I'll leave it to you to send me yes or no. And meanwhile, I wish you all a good Shabbos, a good Chodesh, and a Kabbalas HaTorah, v'simcha v'pnimius.
Amen.
Good Shabbos.
Good Shabbos.
Next,
Thank you very much.
I have a share.
Yes.
I have a share. So on this Zoom.
So I would be able to create another on my Zoom.
Okay. Then I wouldn't be able to come to your share. And what about it? Have your share 2, 3.
Mute everybody.
Sorry?
It means I wouldn't be able to come to you. But
all right, so I'll send you the recording.
okay.
Mute everybody.